Good morning. Hey, everyone. You're listening to Live with Necee. I am your host, Opal Bailey, and I have with me John Perry. We just had him on our show last week, and we wanted him to come right back and share some good stuff that he's involved with and things that he didn't share before. So good morning, John.
Good morning to you, Opal. How you doing this morning?
Oh, man, I'm excited.
Oh, I could see that. I could see that.
Because I know you got some stuff you would like to share with us and let us know what's been going on with you.
Well, quite a bit. I'm so sorry that my wife wasn't able to join us today, but yeah, quite a bit been going on. The last time we were together, I think we talked about the legal shield. That's just one of the things. Let me get this out of the way, first of all. I think the last time I mentioned that I'm an immigrant from Jamaica. And for some of you that used to watch that comedies years ago and live in color, I'm a Jamaican, so you know I've got to have at least 3 jobs, right? So I guess I'm going to talk about some of those other jobs that I've got. But it's good to be back here with you, though.
Well, I'm glad to have you. Hey, I want to just ask you out, how can a young person start a business?
How could a young person start a business? First of all, don't just jump into it. You know, I would definitely do your due diligence. Make sure you go after something that you truly love and passionate about, not just go after it for the money. Okay, because you know the saying is if you're doing something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life, and that is so true. And I think we're living in a society today that there's so many opportunities, and one of the things that I would definitely implore an individual, particularly young, to do is to think on a global scale. Don't just think on a local scale. You know, if you're passionate about cooking, think about possibly open someplace in Paris, because how many soul food restaurants do you have in Paris? But people like soul food, you know what I mean? So think on a global scale, because that's where we're living at right now. So, but the main thing I would definitely implore them to do is do their due diligence as far as the industry that they want to go in, and talk to somebody that's been there. You know, he's got the experience, good or bad, you know, and then go from there.
You know, when you deal with young people, too, sometimes they're intimidated to reach out or to ask. So how can they be comfortable enough or get comfortable enough to ask? And sometimes the resources is not there, or maybe they look to someone else to help them. So how can they push beyond those obstacles that kind of shape them into pulling back, you know?
Well, I think just like we talked about before, we as adults, especially we that have been in business, we have a tremendous amount of experience. We have an obligation. As I mentioned to you before, I want to leave this earth as an empty vessel. That means everything that I have knowledge-wise within me, I'd like to share and leave it here. We have to make them comfortable. Just like we were talking about, you know, somebody pass you by and they don't say hello. Well, you have an obligation to say hello also. It's the same thing. Look at yourself as an example, perfect example. Jeff saw something in you. He made mention to you for you, you know, to pull it out of you. We have an obligation also. I mean, granted that we live in a different society, 70 music is what I'd like versus rapping and all that. But if a gentleman is out there rapping, possibly that's his passion. How can we direct him in the direction to go, you know, to get a record deal or to hook up with a studio or something like that? You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think we have the wherewithal, knowledge-wise, or even to point them in the right direction. So we have an obligation, you know. But like you said, you have to break that barrier. And the breaking the barrier comes from just talking about basketball, talking about what's happening. I mean, you know, getting down to their level. Don't think that you have all the knowledge and you can't even learn anything from them. Because I'll tell you, there's a tremendous amount of experiences, knowledge that we can get from young people. I really, really believe that.
Well, you've definitely been involved with a lot of young people. Can you share some of the community and the things that you're doing, even with the insurance with young people? And
well, one of the best experience that I had the opportunity of being a part of was about 4 years ago as part of a summer youth camp, a Christian summer youth camp. Again, based on the environment that I was in, I was introduced to it. You know, I must tell you, it came through a member that was in a group that knew that I was passionate about cooking. They were looking for a cook for the summer, which was about 6 weeks, and I was given a call. At the time, I was quite busy with other things, but they mentioned that it was with young people. At the time I had, my grandchildren were, quite young. I think they were 4 and 6. So I thought it was an ideal opportunity to expose them to something because I knew my experience from growing up. I was a part of a fresh air product in New York, whereby the county of Westchester had a program for young people to go away from the city, go up into the mountains for summer, 2 weeks at a time, I think. And that experience, I did that for 2 summers. That experience that I had was still profound. This was over 50 years ago, but it was still profound in my mind as far as what I experienced. So I thought it was an ideal opportunity to get away. It was a lovely area down here in Sebastian, Florida, Long Point. So I had the opportunity of being the cook for 6 weeks. Now, very daunting because this was a overnight camp. The kids would come in and they would spend an entire week, sleeping in cabins, and I had to prepare meals 3 times a day, for over 100 kids, for, over 100 people that was there. So it was quite challenging, but it wasn't overburdening because, I was used to running to a restaurant and everything like that. But what I took away from that was it's been life-changing for me. I had a chance to, would you say, mentor. I had a chance to interact with the children, which helped me become a better grandfather for the children that I had, if you understand what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Because, and then again, my grandchildren had a chance to come down and interact with, the activities that they had there. But it really brought to light the fact that, especially in the summertime, when these kids got so much time on their hands, it's not like years ago where, you organize baseball games, softball games, basketball games. How many play fields today that you go by and it's filled? Everybody's indoors, mm-hmm. And it takes away, even though we have technology growing and everything like that, but it takes away from that social aspect of living. I was raised in New York. We used to play stickball in the streets between the cars, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If we had a playground, it was constantly full. Basketball court, constantly full. Unlike today, most kids are more techies, with the phones and the social media and everything like that. So having this experience down at the camp, I think it was quite refreshing. Not only that, it was eye-opening for me, particularly because it highlighted one of the industry's greatest tragedy, in my opinion, that we're going through right now is that our foster care program. We had scholarships for a handful of the foster children to come down, and I just thought we could have more of these kids. There should be more of this kind of environment for kids. Fresh air, activities, socialization, mm-hmm. Get away from that technology. You have it throughout the year, but for a week, cell phone free, interaction, actually talking, actually conversing with different people, singing, campfires, kayaking. It was wonderful. So even though it was good for them, it was quite spiritual for me.
Mm-hmm. So being involved in that kind of environment, did it kind of spark the passion that you have for young people now, teaching and wanting them to know more about insurance or different businesses opportunities? Even
more so, because one of the things that I found out also, because in that camp, if anybody's used to the camping situations, they normally have, you call them volunteers, but they are volunteered to help in the kitchens and everything like that. And some of the things that you recognize is a lot of these kids that are coming up, they're being raised now without having some of those skills that we were raised with when we were coming up. A lot of these kids don't even know how to boil water. Literally, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The kitchen skills that my parent taught me are not being exuded to a lot of these kids because, again, a lot of these kids are in homes that are single-parent home, possibly, that parent is out working most of the time. Or even if the parent is home, they don't have the skills to pass on to them. You understand what I'm saying there? Mm-hmm. You mentioned about mentoring. There's a lot of them. You talk to kids again, and some of the things that you ask them about is their career. And a lot of these kids are, they're lost. Even the ones years ago that used to have the labor skills, a lot of those jobs are not even available to a lot of people right now. You know what I mean? So some of the things that I talk to the young people about today is to look to those unconventional things that they never thought about before. One of the ones that I'm very passionate about is insurance industry. I'm involved with the insurance industry now, and I tell you what, it's been a life-changing career for me. You know, my eyes have been open. It's a very lucrative industry. It's one that I don't think we have enough young people involved with. And I don't think they're involved mainly because they know nothing about it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's been an I call it aged industry for a number of years, but a lot of those aged individuals are aging out right now, and they need to be replaced. So if you have the time and you're young or you're older and, you know, you have a child or a young person that's looking towards a career, I would say the insurance industry is a tremendous avenue that I think they could definitely explore because the insurance industry, again, offers so many avenues. I mean, somebody has to write it, somebody has to market it, somebody has to sell it, somebody has to actuate it, you know, somebody has to audit it. So there's different aspect of it. Not only that, the insurance industry is one of a residual income, and I know that's not in the vernacular of a lot of young people. Residual income, whereby you do it one time and you can collect for years and years and years from now. Best example for that is Elvis Presley, Michael Jackson. They're richer now than they were when they were alive, mainly because of residual income. They did something one time, and it's being paid to them or their estate over and over and over again. Well, the insurance industry is something like that. You sell it one time, and you can, you know, get a book of business, and you're collecting it for a lifetime or a lifetime of that client.
So when you have a young person that may not know what they're doing, how would you take them under your wing, and what would your process would be with that?
One of the first of all, you can't save everybody.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? You can't save everybody, and you got to be, believe it or not, you got to be somewhat selective as far as you can identify when somebody wants your help. You can't push a rope, so to speak. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But there's enough kids out there today. There's enough young people out there that need our help. They really do. And I think a lot of us are mature enough, you've been in business enough, you've around enough to know which ones are which. You know, you help the willing, so to speak. But the fact of the matter is we have to be there to help the willing, right. You know. And I don't think there's enough help. I think one of the most tremendous thing that we could do is we can have them tag along. Literally, you know, we mentioned before in the last show how instrumental the Chamber of Commerce was for us. What are we doing here? What about bringing in some kids, let them see how a show is taped, okay? Maybe that's something that they'd like to do. But the main thing is exposure. They have to be exposed to it. You can't act on something that you can't even perceive. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So if you're just going to school and going home in front of the boob tube or social media, going back to school the next, you know, and you're not out, you can't act on something you don't even see. You know what I mean? And a lot of the young people really don't have the initiative to really explore it, because we are living in a time now that almost on any subject matter you can get on YouTube and find out. On any subject matter, if you want to go fix a car, you can get on YouTube and find out how to do it. Careers, you can go on YouTube and research like never before as far as how to do it and all that. But again, it's just like YouTube or the internet. You got to have the right question to ask. You understand what I'm saying? You have to have that direction in which to go. There's so many directions that one can go right now. We should be a navigator. That's what I think. That's one of the better words that to use. We should be a navigator. And as I mentioned on the last show, reading is a tremendous tool that I think we should reinforce to young people to do. You know, they don't have to reinvent the wheel. Somebody's already gone before you and have already documented it now. Okay? There's blueprints. So all you have to do now is follow the blueprints.